Welcome to a Fortnight on the Isle. I'm your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I feel like I say it far too often, but I am exhausted this fortnight. Vacations and trips in general just kind of zap all of my energy away. I'm so much of an introvert, hanging out in my house all the time, that doing anything just kills me, but I keep doing it apparently as of, recently. As soon as I'm finally recovered from one, I just go right back into another. And in case you couldn't tell by all the, tourist trap getup that I've got going on, I just recently came back from Moab, going to Arches, and visiting that in Canyonlands, and that was a really great time. Got a little tour of a couple of the places from one of my brothers who has worked at Arches for the last few years, so that was definitely an experience. It was my first time down in the area. I had a lot of fun. There was a ton about the place that I just kind of inherently liked. It's pretty obvious why there's a lot of tourism around the area, but, it got me thinking about some other things regarding just general location and living in different places. I'm not saying that I'm going to move to Moab now all of a sudden, but it got me thinking once again about my desire to move somewhere at least a little bit warmer than where I currently live. That might be something that happens at some point, but before we get too far distracted with other stuff going on in my real life at the beginning of this video, let's go ahead and just get into the fortnight proper, what I got done, because, it's been, all things considered, pretty slow the last couple of weeks. It's sure to get a lot busier the next couple of weeks, so let's just talk about all of that. We shall start off, like normal, with the bi-weekly reading. If you want to skip this or check out any other specific section, I do have timestamps down below for anything that you deem applicable. Over the last couple weeks, the main thing, or at least the first thing, I suppose, more appropriately, that I did was I finished reading The Sparrow. I can't remember what percentage I was actually at in here last week. I think I was around 56% of the way done, so about halfway through, and the book just got even better than it was at the time. I probably spoke a little bit about, the existential dread, talking about how it's like being transported to the Titanic with knowledge that you're going to hit the iceberg in however many hours, and just not being able to do anything about it, but having that just anxiety build up the entire time. Well, yeah, The Sparrow did that for the rest of the way through. Definitely a slow burn book, but one that I enjoyed a ton, but also a book that I did talk about a little bit more in depth in, I believe, the most recent reading wrap-up and TBR video that probably would have come out last Tuesday, and then I will be talking about this a little bit more in depth again before too horribly long, so I'll leave off this section here. Just know that I really loved that book, and the end of it really got me. The reason why it's called The Sparrow turns up in the last chapter, and it broke me a little bit. So that was one of the things that I got done over the last couple of weeks. Otherwise, I made it most of the way through Terry Pratchett's The Color of Magic, the first book in Discworld. I am most of the way through, as you can see by that bookmark. I started this. It's my first journey on the disc, and I got most of the way through it. I'm almost finished. I will be finishing this the morning that this video comes out. In fact, I just got back from this trip that I took, Saturday evening. I'm recording this video so that I can go out in the morning. I will be finishing this very soon, but I've read enough of it that I feel like I can basically give my thoughts on it as is. It's been an enjoyable time. There have been moments where I've been a little bit surprised by, not necessarily how dense it is, but by how the prose is constructed. Pratchett's prose is so very intentional in there, where if you, your mind drifts off for even just a sentence or a paragraph, that can be enough time for you to completely lose what's going on. It's not necessarily because what's going on in the book is so complicated or so complex or so indecipherable. It's just a matter of sheer efficiency with the prose, and also a matter of things just being very chaotic in the book. The book is definitely chaotic, but I've been having a really fun time with it nonetheless, and I cannot wait to talk about that book some more as well, because it's actually been quite a joy, and there was a little bit of me that wanted to pick up the next book immediately after finishing it, but that's not going to happen. Instead, I'm going to be working on a couple of other books over the next couple of weeks. Notably, I will be reading The Hobbit this week, and yeah, love that shade of green. I didn't even realize that this would get cut out by the green screen, but oh well. The Hobbit I will be reading this week, doing a reread of it alongside a couple of friends, one of whom will be reading it. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure all of my friends will be reading it for a reread this week. I think one of them will be like finishing it for the first time, but there will be a number of us reading it, and we're going to have a fun time. The Hobbit is great. I'll have a little bit more to say about that before too long as well. After I'm done with The Hobbit, however, probably next week, I should be reading the Bachman books. Again, that's a yellow color. I don't even know why it's getting cut out by the green screen. But yeah, the Bachman books. The third one of these, titled Roadwork, I will be starting and hopefully reading all of next week. It's not very long in between those two bookmarks is what it is. I want to say it's... Oh man, let's just do a rough math here. It goes from approximately page 330 until page 530, so it's only like 200 pages within this binding. So even for the Bachman books, it's relatively short, so I hope to be able to get through that next week. The other reading thing that I have been doing the last couple of weeks has been continuing to read the first Doomsong book by Christopher Ruocchio as he's been writing that. I got caught up to the draft version that he had sent me before I left on my trip. So that put me at the approximately 25% mark of the book at that point, and probably over the next couple weeks he will be hitting about the halfway point in the actual writing of the draft, which means that I will be continuing on that. So we'll see if I can get all the way up to the 50% by the next fortnight. I'm not entirely sure. My reading with that is very rough as is. So that is basically what I've got going on with the reading. Outside of that, if I have time, I've been saying this for several fortnights already, but if I can read Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes or get some of it read over the next couple weeks, I would like to. But at this point, I'm not entirely sure if I'll have time because I'll be working on a couple of other books that I want to get through first. And I finally continued Exodus a little bit. I'm 43% of the way through the book. I probably should have been done with it by now, or at least definitely a lot closer to done with it. But it's been really difficult juggling a lot of the stuff that I had going on the last handful of days with vacation. When it comes to going on trips, I actually do a heck of a lot less reading on vacation than I do otherwise. Because when I'm on vacation, I want to be doing things and tend to focus on doing things that I'm not doing at home or can't do at home for obvious reasons. And since I do a lot of reading at home, that means that reading on vacation doesn't compute in my brain. But that is all that I have to talk about for the week. For the weekly reading, let's move on to the bi-weekly gaming, in which there's again not much to say here because I did not actually play anything over the next couple of weeks, but I do have some firm plans of things that I need to get played over this fortnight largely for video production reasons and stuff like that going on the second channel. The main thing that I've been saying the last couple of these updates already is I would like to finish God of War Sons of Sparta if I can. Highly doubtful that I have time for that this fortnight because I will be playing another couple of games and starting a third one over the next couple of weeks otherwise, or theoretically that's the plan. We'll see what happens, but I will be starting to live stream The Last of Us Part 2 over on the second channel this fortnight, so I will be starting to play that game. I won't get all the way through it this fortnight, obviously, but I will get through a little bit of it on account of that. I plan also, over the course of this week, to record a Let's Play for Need for Speed Carbon, which will be like an in-between of Bioshock 2's Let's Play, and then whatever wins a poll that is currently going on my second channel right now in the community tab. If you want to check over there for the poll of what gets Let's Played after Need for Speed Carbon, you can do that, but I will be recording that Let's Play most likely this week, definitely next week at the absolute latest, so that I can have that ready in time to post in June. And should go relatively quick because I'm already familiar with the game. I've played it a million times. It's maybe the game I've played the most in my life. It's definitely up there in that conversation. And then the other thing is Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I believe that's the correct number. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. You can see over there. But assuming that he has time, Josh and we played through Kingdom Hearts 2 together, or rather he watched me play through it. And that was a fun time about a year and a half ago. I've been thinking it's time to get back on the Kingdom Hearts train, and he thinks he'll have an opportunity this weekend, probably after the first Last of Us Part 2 stream, in order for us to actually go through 358 over 2 days. And I'm aware that it's basically just a movie, the version that exists in the Kingdom Hearts collection, so it should only take us a few hours to work through that. But working through that so that we can be able to actually play Birth by Sleep next will be great. I'm looking forward to actually continuing Kingdom Hearts again, so we'll likely be recording something like that on Saturday to again continue alongside Need for Speed as a bridge in between BioShock 2 and the next actual Let's Play. So that is what I've got going on for gaming. As for the bi-weekly cinema, I do actually, for once in my life, have something to talk about here that isn't just, the fact that I've not been watching anything because I spend way too much time watching basketball. Although I did do that, and I watched my Raptors get, knocked out of the playoffs, which was unfortunate, but, also saved me from being upset that I would be missing the first 2 games of the second round, because it doesn't really matter. The point is, I'm excited to see what happens next with the Raptors next year, their next season. That'll be really entertaining. But I did actually watch some movies this fortnight as well, most notably The Hobbit, the extended editions of this trilogy. So obviously An Unexpected Journey, The Desolation of Smaug, and The Battle of the Five Armies. Sorry for hitting my mic there. I apologize profusely. So I watched all 3 of those movies over this past fortnight. In fact, I watched those all in like a blitz. Like, I watched them all in one day, and I did that just a few days before leaving on my trip, actually, and so that I could make a video about it. We'll talk about that very shortly. And yeah, I honestly really like those movies. I don't care what anybody else says about them. You can say what you will about them. I understand a lot of the criticisms, and a couple of them I hold myself, but overall, I actually really like those movies. The problems with them do not bother me enough for me to in any way dislike them. I have a few moments, especially in the first movie, that I actively dislike, but overall, really solid time. I enjoy it a lot. My only plans of things to watch over the next couple of weeks are watching the Maple Studios cut of the Hobbit trilogy. So one of the very many fan edits of those movies that exists out there. After rereading The Hobbit this week, I plan to rewatch The Hobbit basically through the version of that one fan cut, and then kind of compare what that is like compared to the trilogy, and also compared to the book, since that's one of the ones that aims to be as faithful to the book as possible by removing, everything outside of it where and when possible. So that's something that I plan to do over the next couple of weeks. But I did mention making a video about The Hobbit, so let's talk about the upcoming releases, because tomorrow, on the 11th, on the second channel, will be a trilogy review where I will be talking about all of The Hobbit at once, reviewing all 3 of those movies in one video. I just finished writing the script while coming back home from the trip to Moab. It was a, like 6-hour drive or something like that, both directions. So I spent a lot of my time down and back writing the script for that review, and I managed to finish it in time, so I will be able to record that. At the time of this video's release, I will be recording it today so that it can come out tomorrow, like I said, and I'm looking forward to making that video and seeing what hot water I get myself into with it. But yeah, that was definitely a joy of a video to at least begin producing as far as the script goes. But on the main channel, on Tuesday the 12th, will be a review of A Memory of Light by Brandon Sanderson, the final book of the Wheel of Time. So I will be finally through all of the individual book reviews of Wheel of Time this week. And furthermore, I will also on Thursday the 14th be doing the full series review for the Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. And, kind of just like finally reviewing A Memory of Light, I will be doing that final review of the entire series, talking about it in general as an entire body of work, and also going over basically my quote-unquote recommendation of what's going on there, because it is a pretty complicated series on whether you're going to recommended or not, or at least from me, like from a semi-critical perspective, yeah, it's going to be a mess of a video. I already recorded that. I recorded both of those 2 videos and a couple of the videos coming out next week, I think, before I went on the trip. Didn't get to finish making the thumbnails or even edit them, so I'm going to be doing all of that today as of this video's release. Again, just catching up on stuff. But yeah, both of those videos this week I'm looking forward to. The other couple things happening on the second channel this week are on Friday the 15th will be episode 7 of the BioShock 2 Let's Play. Notably, episode 7 ought to be finishing the base game. I'm pretty sure that is the case. And then Saturday, I talked about starting to stream The Last of Us Part 2. Saturday is when I plan to do the first one of those streams. I have not made any of the thumbnails for that live stream series yet, so forgive me for that, but it is what it is. I will be starting that game on Saturday, assuming nothing goes wrong, and I'm actually really looking forward to playing through that in the chronological mode. Next week will also be a handful of videos, basically going back to what my video output was for a hot minute. On Sunday the 17th, on the main channel will be my next book haul video. That'll be for winter 2026, covering my handful of acquisitions from February, March, and April of this year, so that'll be a good time. On Tuesday the 19th, also on the main channel, will be my review for The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. Like I mentioned earlier, how I would be talking about it very soon. That is because the spoiler-free review comes out next week, so if you want to hear more about that, check in next week for it. On Wednesday the 20th, and I will have to, make an addendum to this. I mentioned in the last Fortnight on the Isle that on, oh man, what day would it have been? Like, on the 6th, this past Wednesday, would be my Ghost of Yote, a brief review video. That is not what came out last Wednesday. That's going to be coming out on the 20th instead. I just didn't have enough time to actually finish producing that video. I didn't even finish writing it in time. I'm most of the way through writing it as of, this trip where I wrote the Hobbit trilogy. I also continued writing the Ghost of Yote review. I'm most of the way through it, so I should actually be able to have that out when I say I have it out instead. Last Wednesday was me just doing a quick game grind video where I mentioned or asked for people to vote on my next Let's Play game. That's why the poll is over on the second channel, so you can check that video out if you want to, but otherwise, next Wednesday on the 20th, Ghost of Yote review. Double fingers crossed I should actually finally have posted next week. That is definitely the goal at this point. If I don't still have it out by then, I need to just stop promising things that I cannot keep, but anyway, moving on to the last few things happening on the main channel. On the 21st will be my tier list and ranking video for the Wheel of Time. So just as this week I'm finally going over the last review stuff for the series, next week I will be going over the entire series in a ranking context rather than in a review context. Normally when I talk about a full series, I tend to do a full series review and ranking at the same time, but the problem is that both of those videos separated, and I planned for them to be separated on purpose, but even separated, both of them have well over 1 hour long recordings at this point, so it just wasn't going to happen that was going to be all one video. Like, just absolutely not. That would be absurd. So the ranking and tier list part of it will be happening next week. On Friday, the 22nd, on the second channel will be episode 8 of the BioShock 2 Let's Play, which, if my math is correct, means that will be the first of 2 episodes for the DLC, so the DLC will be started next week over there. And then on Friday the 23rd, assuming all goes well, ought to be the second live stream for The Last of Us Part 2, and that is everything that I have planned for the upcoming releases. Aside from all of that and everything that I've talked about in this video, I can't say that there's actually that much going on for me at the moment. Not much that I have planned for the next couple of weeks, because I've got work, real life work, that I need to get on top of this week following the vacation, especially following the vacation, and then I'm going to be really busy even outside of that with video related work in the evenings. I've mentioned how I've had a handful of videos that I had recorded that still need to be edited. As of this Sunday that this video comes out, I'm going to be doing a lot of video work today specifically. Throughout the week, I'm going to be trying to get at least a Let's Play recorded and edited if I can, plus some other stuff that I need to get planned for next month. So, there's just lots of stuff that I got to get done. A lot of it's going to be done today, this Sunday, you know, finishing this weekend out strong right after the vacation, just going right back into personal work. But I will still be busy throughout the rest of the week on video related stuff for the most part. And I think that next week will probably be basically the same thing, but I'm not entirely sure. My internal schedule that I've got planned right now basically only goes through this week because there's so much that I got to get through this week specifically. So I guess for a little while, life is truly just swinging back into my new normal at this point. It'll be a long process, really solidifying what that looks like moving forward as a more consistent type of thing. And, you know, more than likely a lot of figuring out that new normal is sure to be broken as soon as it started because of my habit of doing things that break the system, like going on vacation. So I'm just starting to figure things out. And then I leave again and upheave everything. But, you know, that's just what I've got going on. The only thing that I can hope for at this point is getting a grasp on everything that's going on through the rest of the month, and then being able to start to incorporate things like writing into my life again, because I would like to be able to start doing that alongside, you know, all of my other stuff. If I can get my schedule consistent enough, that might be possible. We'll talk a little bit more in the next Fortnight on the Isle, whether that still looks possible, however. So that'll be the end of this video, and I appreciate you for watching. If you did, my apologies for probably another long Fortnight on the Isle. My recording length is a little bit skewed because of what I had to do to get the thumbnail done today. And some other stuff that I had to get prepped after I had started recording already. So I don't actually know how long this is going to be. I'm sorry if it's long. You're welcome if it's short, because usually I'm very bad about doing very long Fortnights on the Isle when I frankly don't need to most of the time. But if you happen to be watching this at this point in the video, I really, really appreciate you, because nobody else would have gone through that. I appreciate it. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.